Hey everybody. So I want to talk about TV ratings here in the playoffs a little bit because the television ratings in the United States for the NHL playoffs through the first two rounds have been absolutely through the roof. Um, it's just it's really remarkable to see the numbers when you look at it. I'm getting all this information from Hooked on Hockey magazine's Facebook page. They put these couple things up a couple of days ago, just about how the 2019 playoffs are doing on the networks of NBC and NBCSN. And the 2019 Stanley Cup playoffs are the most watched on record through the second round on NBC Sports. So these are the most watched playoffs on record on NBC. And you know, obviously we don't know how the rest of the playoffs are going to go. This is just for the first two rounds, but the second round, this year's second round, the 2019 second round is the most watched Stanley Cup playoff second round on record. Colorado and San Jose's Game 7 average total audience of 1.754 million, up 9% from a comparable 2018 game. The 2019 Stanley Cup playoffs have been live streamed more than 500 million minutes, up 39% from 2018. So if you can't watch on TV, but you have your laptop with you, you have your iPad or whatever, you can stream the game on NBC's Live Extra, or whatever they call their live streaming service. That's up almost 40% from last year. That is a massive, massive jump for any network or program or anything. Almost 40% from last year. And Carolina, Colorado, Columbus, Dallas, St. Louis, and San Jose have all set local ratings records. So obviously for a team like Carolina, who hasn't been in the playoffs in a long time, that's probably expected. Columbus as well, never have been past the first round until this year. But San Jose's in the playoffs every year. They're setting records too. So it's really been remarkable what the television has done this year. And you got when you look at the cities, the biggest markets, Buffalo, as far as U.S. market goes, Buffalo is leading the way with a 2.74 average rating. Boston is in second place with 2.38. Obviously, the Bruins are still in the playoffs. St. Louis is third. Providence, which goes along with Boston, is in fourth. Columbus is fifth. Denver is sixth. Pittsburgh, even though the Penguins were swept out in the first round, people in Pittsburgh are still watching. They're at 1.65. Minneapolis and St. Paul, so Minnesota, even though the Wild didn't even make the playoffs, Minnesota, they're watching. Raleigh, North Carolina is in the top 10, and Las Vegas rounds out at number 10. So when you look at this, Buffalo, obviously, they're always near or at the top of the TV ratings. Buffalo is an incredible hockey city. The Sabres haven't made the playoffs since 2010, and Buffalo is still always near the top of the ratings. And they're at the top of the ratings again this year for U.S. markets. Boston, obviously, their team's still in it. St. Louis is still in it. Columbus, they got to the second round for the first time. Colorado, Denver, they made it to the second round. Pittsburgh, still watching. Minnesota, even though they didn't make the playoffs, still watching. And then, obviously, the Hurricanes are still in it. And Vegas is a top 10 TV market for the NHL in the playoffs this year. They got out in the first round in 7 games, but they're still a top 10 market through the first 2 rounds of the NHL playoffs. It's really awesome to see, honestly. These playoffs are really getting people to watch. And a lot of people are watching, and the numbers are way, way up from where they have been. And that is very good for the NHL. And I think it's interesting because a lot of people, during the first round, when all the upsets started happening, and you had Pittsburgh out, and you had Washington out, and you had Tampa Bay out, And then, you had Winnipeg out, you had Calgary out, you had Vegas out. All these upsets start happening. And all these, supposedly big hockey cities teams are getting out. People were saying that this is bad for the league. People were saying that this is going to kill TV ratings, that, all these, teams with big markets are out and now no one's going to watch. It's been the exact opposite. This has been the exact opposite of bad for the league. It's incredible. People are watching and people are seeing, that anyone can win in the NHL playoffs, and people are following it, and people want to watch it, and they're there to root for the underdogs. They're there to see these teams win. Obviously, fans with their home team still in it, like me with the Bruins. We're watching our team, but I'm also watching all the other series going on as well. It's been the exact opposite of bad for the league. It's been tremendous. The ratings are through the roof. The numbers are way high this year because it's exciting, because you have wildcard teams going deep. You've got 1 seeds getting knocked out early. And really, you don't get this in many other sports, really any other sports other than hockey. The NBA, which also has their playoffs going on right now, is the exact opposite of the NHL. The NBA, the best teams are always, the high seeds almost always win. Occasionally you get an upset, but then it usually doesn't last very long, and you always end up with 1 and 2 seeds going deep into the playoffs. The NHL is not like that, and people are watching because of that, because they're seeing upsets. They're seeing teams that aren't normally going deep into the playoffs. They're seeing, your traditional powerhouse teams getting knocked out early, and it's been incredible, and it's been a lot of fun to watch, and nobody knows what's going to happen next. It's keeping everyone on the edge of their seats, and it's been exciting, fun hockey to watch for the most part. There have been certainly some real duds of games throughout the playoffs this year, but overall it's still really good playoff hockey and a lot of fun to watch, and people are watching. So I found that really interesting when I saw that the other day, how high the ratings are this year. And it's really, it's a lot of people, I think, were expecting the ratings to be bad and everything to go down because your traditional powerhouse big market teams have mostly been knocked out. But that hasn't been the case at all. The NBC has got to be really, really happy with how this year's playoffs have gone and just how many people are watching and following along. And it's really, that's good news for the league. That is really good news for the league. And we'll see if it continues the rest of the way. Obviously, we're down to 4 teams now. The third round just started, so we won't know what the third round was like TV-wise until it ends. And then obviously we'll have the Stanley Cup final, which we have no idea which 2 teams will be in that yet. But so far, this has been a very good playoffs certainly for the from the TV side of it. You've got a lot of people watching. Ratings are really high, and you have people watching in markets whose team is not even in the playoffs still, and they're still watching. That means you have hooked them. That means they are now fans of not just their team, they are now fans of hockey. And it doesn't matter if it's their team playing or if it's another matchup, they're fans of hockey, like the way I am, where if Boston got out in the first round, I was still watching the rest of the playoffs. Now, I'm really happy that Boston's still in, and I get to, potentially see my hometown team go to the Stanley Cup final this year, or maybe even win a Stanley Cup possibly. But if Boston had lost in the first round, I would still be watching because I'm a fan of hockey, just as much as I'm a fan of any particular team. And I think what we're seeing now is that there are a lot of fans of hockey watching this. And even though their team is out, the games are still enjoyable. The games are fun to watch. They're exciting. And, we have really good matchups. And it's people are watching it. This is what people want. So I think that is great news for the NHL, and we'll see if it continues the rest of these playoffs. But 2019 is the most watched first 2 rounds of NHL playoff action. That is just incredible. So with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.